Welcome back to This Week in Campbell Football with the head coach Mike Minter, Evan Budjevich here, recapping the Liberty contest to open up the brand new season, getting you set for the home opener, the first Campbell home game in 665 days. My goodness, it's been a while, Coach. And more importantly, giving you the key highlights from last week and players that stood out to Coach Minter as we break it all down on This Week in Campbell Football, presented by Wilkinson, Chevrolet, Cadillac, Buick, and GMC. We look back to the Liberty contest from last week, and Coach, some revealing comments from Hugh Freeze, the head coach of Liberty. He said your team was one of the most physical teams he's faced in multiple years with that program. What impressed you most about your team's ability to match the physicality of Liberty?
Well, we talked about that all week long. Is you got to stare in their face, you got to be physical, you got to play hard for 4 quarters. They did what they were supposed to do, right? Is pull away in the second half. And that's what a great football team at an FBS level should do to an FCS team, and at the level that we at. And so it was really good for us to compete as hard as we did. We know the effort is there. We know the intent is there. And now we got to clean up on all this other stuff, right? So, how do we begin to execute better? How do we get to the details of what matters and not things that don't matter to the football game? And these are the type of things we got to start to begin to clean up and get better. And now we get a chance to see where we stack up against an FCS opponent. So anytime you have a coach like a Coach Freeze say about your football team, that was the most physical football team I've seen in 2 years, he's not just talking. This guy's been in the SEC. He knows what physical football looked like. And for him to give us that compliment was really, really telling of the type of football team we can be.
Mike, your comments after the game were revealing as well. You basically called this an exhibition scrimmage to get your team ready for the rest of your schedule. What did you mean by that?
Well, it's exactly what it is. What we wanted to do is find out where we was as a football team, right? We going against a FBS opponent. It doesn't count. It doesn't matter. Even if we'd have won the game, it didn't matter from a standpoint of us going and doing what we want to do, is being, Big South champions. That game against Liberty had no bearings on that. And so that's what I mean when I say that. It's great to be able to get into a game like that, to go against other people. And that compete team that we was going against is way better than what we practiced against for a whole month. And so now we know as a football team where we at. Now coaches can't, it's no longer guessing. We know exactly what we're dealing with now. We know what our offensive line look like. We know what our running backs look like. We know what our quarterback is going to do, our receivers, and so on and so forth. And so that's what I meant when I talked to my team. Man, guys, don't get caught up into what happened as far as the final score, but let's learn about what happened. And then how can we put a game plan together to get better this week?
You mentioned those learning keys from Saturday's loss at Liberty. What was the biggest thing you learned about your football team?
Well, they won't quit. Last year we had a couple games, that it looked like in that second half we melded in, right? And we didn't do that against Liberty. We kept fighting. And we look at, field goal block. They just scored a touchdown. Are you going to be able to give us the same effort that you gave us with the first one? With the last one? It just happened to be like 7 of them that they had to deal with, and a field goal, so I guess that's 8, and they was giving us the same effort. That's a telltale of what type of defense that you're going to have. And then offensively, we kept on hitting and swinging and trying to make plays, and I thought our offensive line did really, really good. They did so good. We got some NFL scouts coming in to look at them because of that game, and that's what you want. You want to be able to prove that you can play with the best of the best, and that's what I saw with our football team. We're not scared of anybody. We're going to play hard. We're going to play physical and tough, and now we just got to work on the execution part, the details of your job, knowing how to beat your opponent, and that's what it comes down to when you talk about being a great football team.
Let's roll through some highlights from Saturday. How about your quarterback, Hajj Malik Williams, somehow finding Jai Williams to the 46-yard line?
Well, that's what Hajj does. He keeps the play alive. He knows where everybody's going to be, and just great athleticism and throwing that ball and Jai coming back and making that catch.
We go to the second quarter. His favorite target, Caleb Snead, back at home for the touchdown.
Hey, look, we have to have a lot of that. Okay, 6 to number 8 for a touchdown. Great route, great pass, great protection. Everything was executed at a high level, and that's what you get.
A lot of highlights in the first half from the offense. Here's Hajj escaping the pressure and earning a key first down on the ground.
Again, this is what 6 does, and I think this is what makes him so special. He has the ability to break the pocket and get down the field.
That's a 1-foot jump pass to Jalen Kelsey for 15 yards.
Yeah, right.
What incredible athleticism.
Oh, listen, this is what he does, man. He gets the ball off to his guys. Great catch by Jalen. And if we can do that, it's going to be tough.
Chris Megginson's an all-conference DB. He had no chance against Jalen Kelsey here.
Great behind the back shoulder fade ball by Hajj. You know, we've been working on that all summer long. Great catch, great execution, great play.
By the way, did you see the reaction from Josh Johnson there on defense? And here's Roy Yancey, 8 tackles in his Campbell debut.
Yancey is going to be a guy. You will hear a lot of his name. I am glad that he left South Alabama to come to me.
By the way, how much you pay these officials? You had less penalties than Liberty on Saturday.
Oh, man, that's just called great coaching. That's what that is.
Your team has not been at home in 665 days. What's the most exciting part of finally returning to Barker Lane Stadium?
665 days?
That's correct.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm happy. I'm excited. I'm ready to get back home. It's like being away, right? Like you go away for a while and then you come home for vacation and you haven't seen your kids and your family and everybody for a long time. Everybody comes in. You can have a big party because it's homecoming. That's what we want Saturday night is a homecoming crowd. I want it loud, and we want to welcome Elon to true FCS football in the creek. And that's how excited I am. That's how excited the guys are going to be to come home and play in front of our home crowd. And I will always remember 665 days. Because it's one less day than the other number that we're talking about.
It's a good omen for the program. The game's on a Saturday and not a Sunday. 6 o'clock kick. Coach, you mentioned this Elon team. Lost at the last second against Wofford. Had a game-winning kick to win that game. Could not convert the opportunity. Davis Cheek, their quarterback, he threw a reception to 9 different receivers. What's the challenge of facing this Elon offense?
Well, Cheeks is, to me, like Dan Marino. The ball comes off his hands really, really fast. He's going to get the open receiver. He's going to hit him right in between the numbers, and it's going to be a catchable ball. He's a great quarterback. He makes this team better. Without him in the spring, different football team. Offensive, defensively, special teams, coaches, everybody different. You get Cheeks back, all of a sudden they turn back into this perennial playoff football team that we accustomed to seeing in Elon. So this is going to be a great challenge for our defense because they can run the football. They got a great offensive line. They big. They strong up front. And then you got a guy at the helm that can get it done. He's a Charlotte kid coming from Butler High School. I remember the kid. I mean, so this is the type of stuff that you as an FCS program, you know how they talk about you come to Georgia to play in these big games against Clemson and so on and so forth. Well, you come to Campbell to play in these big games of FCS opponents, and what bigger game than Elon?
This is the first matchup with Elon in the modern era for this program. COVID delayed the original meeting. It's a home-and-home series. But, Coach, to be back at home and to have this environment, something you haven't seen since November of 2019, what's the biggest impact of these Campbell fans for your games?
Well, it's energy, electricity. Anytime you're doing something that you need energy, football is an emotional game. And you got your home crowd as good as ours, that's going to give us an extra push. It's the 12th man. You playing with 12 people instead of 11. That, Evan, is what you're going to get when you come home, and that's what I look forward to seeing with our crowd. And I saw Liberty's crowd. They was excited about being back home for the first time. And, you know, our crowd is going to be rocking. It's going to be loud, and it's going to be a night game. And man, I look forward to running out of that tunnel and performing in front of our friends and family.
Coach, since you guys just kicked off on Saturday, your first game at Liberty, you're back at home for the first time. What was the thing you missed most about college football now that you're finally back?
Well, it's just the competition and the, you know, the feeling of, you know, you're in front of people. Practice is one thing. A game is another thing. Well, why do I say that? Because last year it felt like you was in practice because nobody was in the stadium, and now you got people in the stadium. You got the movement of the stadium. You got the people and the cameras and the loud noise and all that stuff. I think makes football what it is. It's nothing like being in a stadium full of people that's cheering for you or cheering against you and playing this game of football. So we look forward to it, and I look forward to seeing my guys compete at home and compete against this great Elon team. This is a great football team.
Mike Minter's guys open this Saturday at 6 o'clock. Get your tickets at gocamels.com/tickets. We'll have all the ESPN Plus audio coverage just before kickoff to get you ready for the head coach, Mike Minter. He is happy it's 665 days until we can see you all again. But for all of us, we thank you for joining us on This Week in Campbell Football.
Hi, I'm Coach Mike Minter, head football coach at Campbell University. If you're looking for a new car, go check out my friends at Wilkerson, Chevrolet, Cadillac, Buick, and GMC in Sanford. Go where I go, Wilkerson in Sanford, proud supporters of Campbell Athletics.